Magandang araw, gabi, umaga, ating gabi, wherever you are, mga kapwa natin Pilipino, mga kapwa natin members of humanity, 7.5 billion members of humanity, and sa 1 milyong pamilya na nawalan po ng members ng family nila dahil sa COVID-19 sa buong mundo, and the 210,000 American families who have lost a loved one to COVID-19. We are one with you. We please accept our sympathies. At tayo naman na mga nag-iingat, milyong-milyon, daang milyon, bilyon na mga mamamayan ng mundong ito. Let us be one. Let us be together. Let us learn to be one family and not divided nations. And yan po ang layunin natin dito sa ating broadcast. Dito din ang layunin natin ni Kaado and all our colleagues and comrades. Yan din po ang layunin ng Asia. Well, we'll have time to discuss that dahil ito ay Asian century, tayo na ang namumuno. And malinaw, matkaraan itong COVID-19, itong coronavirus pandemic, talagang lilitaw na Asia, kayo, ako, tayo, together ang siyang magdadala ng kasaysayan ng sangkatauhan itong siglong ito, itong 100 taong ito, at sana hindi po maulit yung ginawa ng Western powers, ng kanluran, ng Western imperialism na dominahin ng buong mundo, kundi yung naririnig din natin sa nangungunang bansa sa mundo ngayon, kundi yung mensahe na tayo ay maging isang community of shared future para sa sangkatauhan, for mankind. Kaado, good evening. Ganda ng hairdo mo ngayong gabi. Do you notice your own hairdo? Malagong malago, puting-puti.
Medyo nagulantang ako dito dahil nag-brown out na-itlip ako ng kaunti. But thanks to your thanks to your call. Medyo, eto na, I'm up and about. Magandang buhay po sa inyo lahat, mga tagapakinig. At Mentong, tuloy mo na.
Yes, and ang una pong nag-a-appear po dito sa mga nagsusubaybay na ngayon ay si Saida, si Dang Reyes. Dang Saida Reyes, at bumabati ng happy birthday. Ito po ang aking, bukas po, October 8 po ang aking ika-69 na kaarawan sa Western Gregorian calendar, sa sistema ng pagbibilang ng edad sa kanluran. Pero sa China po, sa Chino or sa Japan or sa Korea, sa Confucian societies po, ako ay 70 na. Kasi binibilang ang unang taon ng sanggol mula doon sa sapupunan ba? How do you say it, Kaado? Sapupunan, am I correct?
Sapo.
Sapupunan? Ano yun? Yung womb. Sinapupunan. Is that correct? Anyway, so I'm already 70 and we have that significant po. In all cultures, 70 is a milestone. Pero sabi nga po sa modern health and medical common knowledge, common understanding, ngayon, ang 70 is the new 40. Yung ating 70 anyos ngayon, kung dati po 70 ay matanda na po, sa panahon ngayon, ang 70 ay yung dating 40 anyos. So that is how you and I are, Kaado. We are just in our 40s. And life expectancy now, for those who at least have a modestly off level, which I think we are part of, although we also have our struggles, economic struggles, tayo may at least expectation of being 85 to 90, 95, pag mag-ingat po tayo. Si Gian, bumabati din po, si Gian EY. Thank you, Gian. Second po sa ating dumalo ngayong gabi, ano. And our agenda po, magsisimula po tayo dito sa issue ng speakership, yung grab fest na tinatawag ko, yung agawan dyan, ano. And what's the bottom line ba talaga? Ano? And nung huling pagtatagpo natin dito, si Kaado, sabi nga, yung kandidatong Velasco, kandidato nila Sara Duterte at ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. Pero later on sa Facebook, ewan ko kung nabasa mo, Kaado, sumagot ako sa iyo, hindi, tsaka itong mga to, si Velasco, may koneksyon kay Ramonang. Naisip-isip ko po yan, napag-isip-isip ko, and later on I asked, hindi ba dalawang panig parehong handmaiden ng ni Ramon Ang? But that's why we'll discuss this. No? Si Antonio Miguel Carlos has joined us. Si Alberto Casim has joined us. So this introductory remarks para makapasok po ang ibang mga kasama natin before we start off the topics. No? And let me just check sa YouTube if there's anyone with us already. Wala pa po sa YouTube. Okay. And so, the second item po ay yung American false flag strategy or tactics and strategy na nagsisimula na po. Ano? Kita po na ngayon, nabulgar na po at nag-react na si Lorenzana, Delphine Lorenzana, our Defense Secretary. Nag-react na rin si Defense National Security Advisor Hermogenes Esperon. And international commentators like Mark Valencia nagkomentaryo na rin sa South China Morning Post. So alam na po ng buong mundo itong pangyayaring ito na ang American spy planes po ginagamit ang air code ng Philippine Civilian Airlines at Malaysian Airlines para i-cover po ang kanilang identity, kung sila ay lumilipad at nag-iispiya sa China. Malaking peligro po sa Malaysia at sa atin yan, sa ating mga civilian passengers ng civilian airlines. And this is kataksilan. This is a betrayal, lalo-lalo na of the Philippines by the Americans, because we're supposed to be allies. We're supposed to be trusting each other. We do not do things behind each other's back. Pero kaya si Kado, ako, sila Karod, and many others do not believe in this relationship of alliance with America. Tayo ay ginagamit lang dyan at inuutulang yung nakakarami na hindi po na-appreciate yan. We'll also take a look at the, China and 26 countries have stood up in the United Nations to call for an end to US unilateral sanctions. Iba yung UN sanctions, iba yung sanctions ng Amerika sa maraming bansa. At itong posisyon na to, our third subject matter, is about the sanctions during this period of the coronavirus, na itong mga sanctions ay binibiktima po ang mga sibilyan, mga pamilya, mga nagkakasakit, at ito ay dapat tigilan na at maunawaan na ng mundo kung ano talaga ang karakter ng US state, yung estado. Yung populasyon, that's another matter, but the US state controlled by the powers in the United States. And pang-apat po, we'll talk about Trump, and mukhang maraming nangyayari po doon na dapat mapag-usapan natin ngayong gabi. Those are the four items. We have 10 items actually. So we'll look into the others as we go along. Ito po si Ginoong Dan Malyari ay kasama na po natin. Happy birthday daw, Mentong, watching from Guam, all the way from Guam. Thank you very much, Dan. And bumati din si Antonio Carlos. Magandang gabi po, mga kamaestros, Mentong at Kaado. And of course, nabanggit na natin yung bati ni Alberto Casim. Okay, let's start. Kaado, doon sa Speakership Grab Fest. Tingnan po natin ang image na hinanda po natin. Aking hinighlight po yung yung pinost ni RJ Havillana ng mga kilusang para sa consumers, no, yung kanyang kilusang warm, no, water for reform movement, no, water for all reform movement, na new FCC, United Filipino Consumers, and then another movement, basta marami siyang mga grupong ganyan. At tama po ang sinasabi niya dito sa post niya, and I wanted to discuss this with you. No? Hindi ba si Cayetano at si Velasco parehong kulay naman na sabihin natin mga let's use the term mga buhaya. Mas bagay po siguro. Ano, buhaya. O bakit ka nakadilat ka? Ano? Nakadilat ka. Anyway, sabi, ha? Anyway, sabi ni RJ Avellana, Speaker Cayetano at Velasco, di ba kayo nag-aproba ng RTL, yung HP House Bill number 78 at iba pang pahirap sa taong bayan? Aso kayo ng oligarko. Ano, sabi ng ni RJ Avellana sa ngalan ng UFCC, no, United Filipino Consumers and Commuters, yun, naalala ko na yung buong pangalan. And so, tinignan ko po kung anong ibig sabihin ng House Bill 78. Ito pala yung House Bill na pinasa ng House, no, nung pag-aamyenda po ng 84 na taong edad na po ng Public Service Law. Ano, at ito po the law now, medyo, ayun, proposed measure, which is now a law, seeks to exclude hinihiwalay ang transportasyon at telecommunication sa listahan ng mga public utility, kaado. And so, yan. Hindi na po under doon sa mga regulasyon ng public utilities itong mga ito. Kaya pinaglalaruan na ang mga rates, wala nang limitasyon, mahirap i-regulate. So, yan ang problema po dito sa agawan nitong Velasco at ni Cayetano. Wala naman pong nag-iiba sa dalawa. Kado, you were very much against Velasco, but are you also against Cayetano? Or are you supporting Cayetano?
Well, actually, this is between the hell and the high seas, no? The way the
hell and the high water. Hell and the high water.
Oh, hell or high water. Kasi even the way this gentleman's agreement was forged was defective from the very beginning. Alam naman natin kung sino ang nagsimula ng lahat ng gulong ito. Ang gulong ito ay nagsimula sa alitan, di pagkakaunawaan ng mga kabit, no? Mga kabit ni Antonio Florendo at kabit ni Pantaleon Alvarez. Hindi ko na i-mention ang mga pangalan nila.
Isagot, no?
Bihira bumabalik ng gano'ng katagal eh. Pero dahil dito, kumilos si Sara Duterte. Dahil si Sara Duterte ay tinatanaw na patriarch niya, bukod sa kanyang ama. Ito si Tony Florendo. At ito nagresulta sa pagkatanggal ni Pantaleon Alvarez mula sa pagiging Speaker of the House. At pagpalit, no? Dahil ang humpong sa pagbabago ay nakipagsabuatan kay Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. So, ang pumalit niya si Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, in fact, sa isang nakakahiyang sitwasyon. Paano nangyari yun? Magbubukas ang sesyon ng Kongreso, bisita ang Pangulo, ay nagkaroon ng palitan ng upuan. At gano'n na lamang yun. Hindi nagtapos doon. Okay. Nagkaroon ng politika yung Davao. Kaya sa Davao region, ang kingpin ngayon ay si Pantaleon Alvarez. Dahil nung nakaraang eleksyon, pati si Antonio Florendo ay natanggal sa pagka-congressman at natalo. Dahil lumaban yung Pantaleon Alvarez sa sa grupo ng mga Duterte. At ang mga congressional seats sa local positions, halos lahat ay napunta kay Pantaleon Alvarez. So this is just going around a big circle. Kasi habang si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo ang congresswoman, pinaplano naman nila na itong kaibigan ni Sara Duterte na si Lord Alan Alvarez, no? Bakit kaibigan? Velasco. Si Lord Alan Velasco. Ang asawa ay si Wen Amara, na best friend naman ni Sara Duterte. So this is now a test of Sara Duterte's leadership para sa akin. Sara Duterte is being routed to run for president in 2022. Ngayon, pagbabalik na pag-alis dapat ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, papalit sa kanya si Velasco. Pero ito naman pumasok si Alan Cayetano sa equation na si Alan Cayetano tumakbo sa Congress, hindi sa Senate. Term limit siya sa Senate. Tumakbo siya sa Congress. At kaya naghati sa term. No? Naghati sa term si Cayetano at si Velasco. 15 months si Cayetano, 21 months Velasco for a total of 36 months. Ngayon, itong Pantaleon Alvarez kasabwat naman ni Coco Pimentel, no? At nakukuha ngayon ng PDP laban ang simpatya ng grupo ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo. So, ito mga kabansa, no? At naglalabasan na ito pa lang si Wen Amara, na asawa ni Velasco, ay ito pala Girl Friday, ito pala lobbyist ni Ramon Ang sa Congress.
Okay, so Kaado, thank you for that. At it is madalang po na merong tulad ng yaman ng kaalaman mo sa mga detalyadong mga pangyayari sa politika natin, at mahaba po ang memory po ninyo. And I think that highlights, no, the cynical process that we have. Kaya po hinighlight ko naman yung batas na dehado sa tao, ang taong bayan dito sa kapag-amyenda nila. Both of them approved this ng public service law na dati binibigyan ng maraming limitasyon sa pagpapatubo sa mga oligarchs sa telecommunications, and sa power industry and so on. And so of course, ang tanong dyan anong gagawin natin? Well, yung iba sasabihin, Rev Gov sana, at bago na po yung direksyon at hindi na po oligarchs ang may poder. But that is something we still have to see and push. Dito naman sa YouTube, Kaado, ang mga nagsimula na po dito sa magsubaybay, kanina pa po, mga 10 minutes ago, si Ken Fernandez, good evening sa inyo. Sabi niya, si Ricardo Baloen, good evening po mga sir, Mentong and Kaado. Happy birthday, salamat. Rick, happy birthday po kay Mentong. God bless, thank you. I'm 70, 69 or 70, depending on what calendar we want to use. Good afternoon mga sir, sabi ni Junert. I really like your show, very informative. From Abu Dhabi, with love. And from us too, with love to you there in Abu Dhabi. Franz Ayaling, good evening, Mentong and Kaado. Si Franz po ay galing saan? Anyway, from Juneri, wish ko lang dumami ang mga viewers mo ng mga kabataan so that they will be guided well, especially sa history ng Philippines. Yes, that is one of our goals po. And over the next few weeks, we will introduce more interesting subject matters para sa youth natin, and maybe we should have some young people join us dito sa diskusyon. From Own 101, watching from the Netherlands all the way. mga Dutch in the Netherlands, no? Ang taray nakatiempo ako ng live. Good evening, Kamentong at Kaado. Sana po lagyan nyo ng topic yung title, yung mga episodes. I think we try to do that, pero baka post-production, no? Maybe we should announce it before the show itself. We can do that. Kaya po natin gawin yan. Nakikinig po ang ating techie na si Ka Joshua, no? Hopefully we can do that. From Joanne, yeah, Kaado, yes?
May minensyon ko yung House Bill 78 na yan. May underlying na iskandalo pa rito dahil habang chairman ng Committee on Energy yan si Velasco, hindi naman yan tumawag. Nawala ang audio ko.
Yeah, okay lang. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay lang. So, habang chairman ng Committee on Energy yan si Velasco, hindi yan tumawag sa 17th Congress and even in the 18th Congress ng a single hearing dito tungkol sa skandalo sa SAM. Alam mo ba yung PSALM, yung nag-manage ng assets ng power industry? No?
Pisam.
Pisam, ang Pisam na yan, may mga assets dyan, no, na involved ang Maalampaya sa Palawan. At dahil yung mga involved sa consortiums na yan, and one of them is a company of Ramon A. na may utang na 19 billion. It's just one of the concessionaires dyan, yung mga nagsosyo dyan. Ang Malampaya will only be good up to maybe 2022, 2023. When hanggang 2025 to 2026 dapat yan. Because hindi nagbayad dito mga ito ng utang nila sa Pisam, ay umigsin na mga 2 to 3 years sa buhay na Malampaya. At yan ang isang pinakamalaking skandalo sasabog sa mukha natin. No? By the time the Duterte administration is ending, magkakaroon tayo ng either minor, I don't know how big it will be, because the entire Malampaya will be disabled and I don't know how that will affect our power industry. Dahil sa oversight ng Kongreso ay napilay dahil sa incompetence or whatever, no, corruption yan si Velasco na yan.
Well, mabuti papasok na yung joint China and Philippine oil and gas deal, yung 60-40 arrangement by 2022. Hopefully pumasok na at mapapalitan na yung gas at oil ng Malampaya. Okay, from the other mga taga-subaybay natin, Mark Lenatona, di ba sabi mo makakasama mo si Bongbong sa Zoom meeting? Kailan po yun? Well, mamayang gabi po, alas 8, meron kaming Zoom meeting. I-arrange ko na makasama po natin sa mga darating na episode po natin dito. No? Also, happy birthday, Kamentong. God bless you and your family. Salamat po, Mark. And sana we can get together in the future together and have a celebration. From Isko Antonio, wala yung message niya, but maybe he'll text again. Or from Live Life, Serve, Survive. Good evening po sa inyong mga maestro, Kamentong at Kaado. May itatanong ako mamaya. Sige, go ahead na just send it over. Danilo Arcaya, I never miss watching the show. Loaded talaga, more power to you. And to you, thank you, Mr. Danilo Arcaya. Wandering James, the message did not come in. Benedict Cuenca, good evening po sa inyo, Kamentong, Kaado. God bless po, stay healthy. Benedict Cuenca, at sana po mabalik yung OPSF, Oil Price Stabilization Fund. Okay, we'll go back to Facebook and see who's in now. Let me see, from Enrico Abehar, magandang gabi po. Yung bati muna, no, ng good evening before I read the longer messages. And then from Enrico Abehar, Austin Ong, Happy Teacher's Day. Salamat sa lahat ng mga malawak na malalim na knowledge sharing, Mentong and Kado. From Enrico Abihar, yung kanyang message. Tungkol po sa Bulacan Airport, panay na ang tulong ng San Miguel sa paligid ng barangay na nasasakupan ng lupa ng planong pagtayuan ng airport. Hindi yata namamalayan ng mga tao doon ang balak ng San Miguel Corporation. Well, yun nga ang problema. That's why we have to try to inform the public. No? Nag-PR na talaga. Let's move on to the next topic kasi halos sa nangalahati na tayo sa oras natin. First topic pa tayo, no? So yung America's false flag operation, yung image po ibibigay na po inilagay na po ni Ka Joshua. Yung I think we discussed this last week already, yung paggamit po ng American spy plane sa paglipad doon sa Yellow Sea at kanyang pag-iispiya sa China, sa Hainan Island, sa pagitan ng Fujian Province at yung gitna ay karagatan, sa gitna lumilipad, ginagamit po Malaysian Air Code or Philippine Air Code. Ito ay peligroso po para sa atin at mga Malaysians at lahat ng ibang mga civilian aircraft. Mabuti po, ito po ay minomonitor ng China, yung kanilang SCSPI, no? South China Sea Policy Initiative, ano? But maybe I'll remember the entire name. Mahaba pong pangalan, mamaya ano. At inulat nila kasi dati po sila Lorenzana, sila Esperon, ang ating gobyerno nakakakuha lang po ng impormasyon ng monitoring sa South China Sea at sa China Sea in general from AMTI, the Asia Maritime Transparency Institute. Ito po yung sa Amerikano. Ano? So yung mga narinig natin kay Batumbakal, kay Heydarian, at sa Armed Forces, sa Navy, mga informasyon galing sa AMTI. AMTI pinupondohan ng Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, na siyang nagbabayad kay Heydarian, Batumbakal, etc. Ngayon, ang Chino, dati quiet lang sila sa mga monitoring nila. Ngayon, nilalabas na nila at may ibang source na po. Si Esperon, ating gobyerno, at si Esperon, si Lorenzana. And so, na-inform na tayo sa mga ginagawa ng Amerikano sa paligid natin. At ito po ang malinaw na ebidensya na I will say, ito ay kataksilan sa Pilipinas. No? Bakit? Tayo ay supposed to be ally ng Amerika. Ang ally po hindi ka gagawa ng hindi mo pinapaalam sa ally mo na Pilipinas, ito ay hindi pinapaalam kay Lorenzana, hindi pinapaalam at hindi naman papayagan ni Lorenzana at ni Esperon at ng ating gobyerno po yan dahil peligroso sa mga airline passengers po natin. And nakakasira po sa seguridad ng buong rehiyon natin, sa mga relasyon sa buong rehiyon natin. And so mabuti si Kaado, mabilis po nagsulat kaagad ng kanyang pananaw sa Sovereign PH, pero medyo complicated yung title mo, Kaado. You have to explain this. Ambivalence provokes jingoism as legalese. Too much balancing may hurt the Philippines. Napaka-komplikado po ng pamagat ng iyong artikulo. Please explain.
Kung maalala mo, Mentong, may isang Korean Airlines na aeroplano na shoot down diyan sa may Siberian area. Dahil at the same time, mayroong isang American aircraft na nag-send ng ganyang klaseng kalokohan, no? Kaya nung nagpalipad ng missile ang Russia, ang tinamaan ay yung South Korean Airlines, Korean Airlines.
KAL 007. 007 pang numero ng flight na yon.
Kaya nga, so maraming hindi nakakaalam kung gaano kadelikado itong adventurism na ito ng Amerikano. Now, coming into this, sinabi ko, ambivalence provides jingoism. Ano ba yung jingoism? Yung jingoism is a way of thinking kung saan yung parang yung America first, right or wrong, America right or wrong, ganyan ang jingoism eh. Ha? Yung Filipino right or wrong, yan ang pinuprovoke ni na Albert de Rosario. Yan ang pinuprovoke ni na Antonio Carpio, Heydarian, at saka Batong Bakal, na kind of thinking. A false start patriotism. Ngayon, sa foreign affairs, pagka hindi masyadong definado ang mga termino na ginagamit mo, o di kaya nag-i-engage ka sa double speak, you send the wrong signal. Para rin yan yung, ano ba yung aeroplano na yan? American airplane, spy plane ba yan? O Korean civilian aircraft? So, ganyan nangyayari dyan. No? So, ang Permanent Court of Arbitration na naganap na kulo na arbitration na ginawa ni Noynoy Aquino at ni Albert de Rosario noong nakaraang administrasyon, specifically dealt with this kind of a strategy whereas too much legalism, no? Pepeke ng application ng batas, no? At saka ngayon naman ang nangyayari ay too much balancing sa panahon ni is creating a mixed signal. So this is dangerous. Unlike China, China sends a very definite signal. No? Okay, ayaw nyo recognize ang aming 9-dash line? Okay, uupa ko ng island dyan. Hindi kayo makakalapit sa mga islands na yan. Pag lumapit kayo, something hostile will happen. It's a very black and white signal being given to us. So sometimes,
yung ginawa din ni Marcos, malinaw. I just want to remind everybody, yung ginawa din ni Marcos, kahit na may tanong tungkol doon sa occupation ng Pag-asa Island, Kalayaan group of islands and so on, inokupa ni Marcos. No, that is not balancing. That is direct action and then malinaw na malinaw.
It's a malinaw at klaro na aksyon ni Marcos. It doesn't send crazy signals.
Walang mixed signal, malinaw. So kung malinaw ka sa diplomasya, importante 'yon, Kasi alam ng kabila, ito pala ang red line, hindi malinaw, hindi magkakaroon ng misunderstanding at walang accidental war or bloodshed. Okay, let's move on, Kaado. I think your point has been made. I think people can also go to sovereignph.com at basahin po pati yung mga columns ko po doon at marami pong balita. It's being designed, itong Sovereign PH, si Kaado is one of the editors, in fact, the most influential editor dyan. It's being designed so that it will be really presenting the important news for all, international and domestic. Okay, let me also, may tanong dito si Jamin Meiji, what are your opinions? Why is it advisable to learn Mandarin? Well, it's always advisable to learn an extra language or two. It keeps your mind active and growing, and sharp. But of course, if you have time, okay. Basahin lang natin yung ibang mga pumasok po, si Dan Malyari, nandito na po, and happy birthday, Mentong daw, watching. Nabanggit ko na pala. Enrico Abehar, yes, Abehar. Freddy Oredina is now with us. Malampaya funds is for other energy and projects and not to be given to the oligarchs sa murang kuryente, unconstitutional. Ito, Laurel Alejandrina Pascual is with us. Good evening po. Power Thinks, Ka-Power Thinks, happy to see you again, Mentong and Kaado, my favorite sirs. Thumbs up to you too. And then Romy Abilier, magandang gabi. Na mga maestro, maligayang kaarawan po, Mentong. Thank you. And sa Power Things po, who are with us now, John, banggit ko, Isko Antonio is with us, Danilo Arcaya, Wandering James, Benedict Cuenca, at sana po mabalik yung nabasa na natin, Fernando Rosales, Malampaya funds is for other energy sources and not to be given to the oligarchs sa murang kuryente. Aini Hadi watching from Malaysia. Mga sir, ingat po kayo and ingat ka rin, Aini, from France, Ayalin. Happy birthday pala, Mentong, more birthdays to come. God bless po, watching from Silay City, Negros Occidental. Thank you, France. And Angel Aliporo, good PM. I learned a lot from you and please discuss the wealth of nations. Anton is interviewed. Anton is interviewed. Medyo nagalaw ko at nawala ako. Interviewing whoever can give information all about gold owned by the Philippines. We'll get back to that when we have time. Mentong, promise po yun na maglalagay ng topic sa mga episodes para mabalikan ko yung mga topics na na-miss because of work. Thanks, more power. Okay, nakikinig po si Ka Joshua and he'll take note of that. Mahal Likain, sir, speaking po of energy, magkasalungat ng pahayag si Senator Amy Marcos at Marco Hanco sa pag-open ng BNPP. Sabi ni Amy, housing na lang, wala nang laman. Pero kay Mark, pwede pa raw patakbuhin. Alam po ninyo, si Mark Hanco, may interest dyan at may mga partners po yan na real estate. Alam ko po, yung isang kaibigan niya, I don't know if they're financial partners, may 300 hectares po dyan. Hindi ko pa alam yung iba. Tama si Amy Marcos po dyan. Sinabi na ng Russian ambassador, bumisita si Kobayev, yung current ambassador ng Russia. Ang unang sabi niya, hindi na kailangan ito. Dagdag na problema pa to kasi i-design mo pa based on an old design na struktura. Walang kwenta na yung struktura, wala nang laman. Uranium dyan, binenta nung panahon ni Ramos. Yung mga makina dyan, rusted na lahat, scrap na ang karamihan dyan. Pati yung reactor. So, may gumigimik tulad ni Ramon sa Bulacan Airport. Sa likod po nito, may gumigimik po. Kaya tama si Amy Marcos yan. Ang bagong disenyo ng mga nuclear power plant, 1/4 na lang o mas maliit pa kaysa doon sa ginawa doon sa Bataan Nuclear Power Plant. So, hindi na kailangan ng ganyang kahiganteng struktura. Iba na po ngayon, pwede na ilagay sa mga barge na pwedeng ilakbay mo kung saan sa Mindanao, kung kailangan kuryente, sa Bisaya, sa Luzon, sa Northern Luzon, and so on. Kaya frustrated ako na may nagtutulak po nitong proyektong ito. Kilala ko ang mga nasa likod but I do not want to make enemies of them at this time. I am just asking the public to understand. Thank you, Madam Amy Marcos, for bringing this up. Tama siya, si Amy. Wala na pong silbi yung mga struktura dyan. Kaado, you want to comment on that? But medyo nakaatrasado na tayo sa mga topics. Let's move on. Sige, Kaado, sige.
Comment to short lang.
Yeah.
I agree with you na there are better applications of nuclear power plants right now and better ways of using it. Pero palagay ko ang importante dito at ito ang magiging topic ng pangatlo kong libro. Ang importante dito ay malaman ng sambayanan kung paano yung Bataan Nuclear Plant ay nabol, yung politika that went behind it. So I will dispense until that time comes, and talk about it more when it becomes a little more current.
Okay. From Carmona D, D. Carmona, good morning, Mentong and Kado. Mabuhay po kayo watching from Twickenham, London, England. Okay, all the way there. And good morning sila, tayo gabi na dito. Okay. And Carding Domingo, good PM po, Kado at Mentong. Happy birthday, Mentong. Thank you, Carding. And Raisa, hello, Mentong and Kado, watching from Australia. Napapanood din po kayo on TV. Meron po akong show on TV by satellite. I will inform you later. From D. Carmona ulit, Mahar, si Amy, kailan, bakit Mahar o Mahal? Anyway, Mahar, that's part of your name, no? Si Amy, kailan ba siya nakapasok sa BNPP kaysa kay Mark na madalas sa BNPP? Well, we have to ask Amy that. One of these days, we'll interview Amy po. Okay, and anyway, So yung spy plane ng Amerikano, let's keep in mind, no? Ito po ay hindi po maganda para sa Pilipinas yan, and yan po ang ebidensya na hindi po mabuti ang mga intensyon ng Estados Unidos dito sa rehiyon na to. Okay, and well, this is a short news item. Positibo po, dahil ang China po ay nananawagan sa United Nations na tigilan na yung unilateral sanctions, no, na ginagawa ng Estados Unidos sa maraming bansa, at suportado po ng 26 na mga bansa sa United Nations itong sinususog ng China. And the Chinese UN envoy Zhang Jun on Monday made a joint statement at the general debate of the Third Committee of the UN General Assembly and Western countries for violating human rights, calling for the complete and immediate lifting of unilateral sanctions and expressing grave concern on the systematic racial discrimination. So the tables are turned on the United States, which keeps accusing other countries, but now it's the United States on the spot. And ang naman po nung issue po dito, itong mga unilateral sanctions sa Venezuela, sa Bolivia, sa Libya, and many other countries, sa Iraq, sa Iran, and so on. Ang napipinsala po ang mga mamamayan, mga sanggol na may sakit, mga ina, ordinaryong mamamayan, pagkain, gamot, nagbabawalan na magbenta ang mga bansa dito sa mga sinasanction nila. I think the US has abused its power long enough. No? Kaado, if you have a short comment, sa akin lang talagang tumutulong sa maraming bansa ang China sa loob ng United Nations. Kaado, ikaw?
It's about time. Masyado naman flimsy rin yung mga rason dyan At saka panggigera lang at pagbebenta ng armas ang ginagawa ng Estados Unidos dyan. So, dito nakikita ko at sino ang benevolent power at kung sino ang hostile power sa buong mundo.
Okay, from NAJ, happy birthday, Mentong. Thank you, NAJ. Zaldi Oreo, Mentong, Kaado, 50 million ang gastos ng Pilipinas kada taon sa BNPP. Kailangan natin ng panimula, 10 to 20 years, grabe ng laki na bayarin sa kuryente. Actually, ito po nagsimula ang pagbabayad niya noong 1981-82 pa, no, if I recall correctly. Pero ayon doon sa mga report nitong nakaraang mga taon, tapos na po ang pagbabayad doon sa mga interest ng BNPP. Although may nagsasabi naman, hindi naman matatapos yan kasi nakahalo yan sa general debt ng Pilipinas, which today is, I think, still at mga $80 billion ba? I have to review the figures, But we'll take a look at it. From Saldi Oreo, maintenance po, kada taon 50 million. Maintenance, okay. Well, I don't know what, maybe to maintain the grounds kasi wala nang makina sa BNPP but we'll check all that, Okay, from Isko, Antonio Camentong, happy birthday. May God's grace grant you the wisdom and assist you to spread the true events and history of this nation. Stay safe and be kind. You are my guide. The truth is our guide, kami ni Ado and all our mga kasama tayo dito, and the facts of history. Learn truth from facts, ika nga, seek truth from facts. Okay, let's, the next item is, well, alam po ninyo, maraming mga kapwa natin, Pilipino, still believe in Trump a lot. It's okay. Nung 2016, nung halalan, I predicted Trump would win, and I thought Trump would be better for the world because he promised to withdraw troops from all the deployed outside the US and so on, a lot of things. But at the same time, I also thought that he would create such internal strife sa US na magkakaroon ng problema sa US para kung ganyan ay mapabayaan ng ang mundo na mapabayaan na magkaroon ng kapayapaan. But today, I don't think we should take a position about Biden and Trump because nakita na natin ng 4 years ni Trump na hindi, almost 4 years, mga 1 month ago sa 4 years, 2 months ago, hindi rin niya fulfill yung mga commitment. So of course, we can say that kasi ino-oppose ng deep state, pero meron din siyang sariling laro eh. Ano? So I think what we should do is just keep Asia together, unified, not divided, and so that we can lead the whole world towards the vision of a dialogue of civilizations. But I will not go into further details there. We'll hear from Ado, and then we'll talk about ang gusto kong puntos kay Trump, yung kanyang mga maniobra hindi batay po sa facts, and itong pag nagka-COVID-19 siya pero still anti-mask, anti-lockdown. I don't like universal lockdown po, selective lockdown, etc. Very useful sa proteksyon ng ating kalusugan, hindi po yung absolutism, But, nagkasakit si Trump. Ngayon, minadali na ibalik siya. Sabi niya, don't let COVID-19 dominate you. Okay lang sana kung may helicopter tayo na lumipad sa ospital, Okay sana kung meron tayong karapatan na kunin yung experimental drugs para gamitin sa atin. And we don't have that. We need protection in other ways na much simpler and more available to everybody and even the poorest of the poor. So, may mga diferensya din si Trump. Okay, now, sinasabi ni Trump, okay na siya, and so let's just look at this short clip, na patunay na hindi siya okay. Makikita mo, Kaado, at ng mga ating watchers, na talagang humihigop siya sa bibig ng hininga niya. Joshua, are you ready? Let's roll it.
Donald Trump as he returned to the White House from his brief stay at Walter Reed. Now, if you read Trump on Twitter, he's apparently doing great. He says he hasn't felt better in 20 years, that this is nothing to be concerned about. Everyone go on with your day. But in those clips, you can see it as clear as day. This is a man gasping. This is a man struggling to breathe. This is a man in clear physical pain. He should not be doing this, but he feels the need to because politically it looks bad for him to stay alone. Because don't forget, this is a man who since February has tried to either say that this crisis is not real, or it's a clone, or it's not something that we can change our lives around. We just have to keep persevering because that's the American way. But what you see here is a man that had to go to Walter Reed to get advanced care, and that likely betrays what he's been saying. That this is actually quite serious. That this is actually something to worry about. That this is actually something you should shift your regular life around. And so he knows that, and so he had to leave to go back home. Because leaving quickly allows him to continue to say, this ain't that big of a deal. But that was the imagery. That was raw footage. Some of the news footage, they were further away. CNN had a shot like from the wide angle by the helicopter. This was much closer. This is not a man that should be doing this. He is doing this for pure political and personal theater.
Okay, so napanood po ninyo, Kaado, parang kung minsan ako, kung nag-asma ako, kung talagang hihigop ka sa bibig kasi kulang So halatang-halata po si Trump, and well, the point is Trump now has 25 members at nadadagdagan ng kanyang close-in na mga functionaries, cabinet secretaries, and so on, campaign strategists tinamaan na ng COVID. At Kaado, buong chief of staff, yung kanyang military staff, quarantined, Kaado. So, hindi dapat po maliitin po itong COVID-19. Sinasabi ni Trump, this is not as bad as the flu. Ang dami ding nagkakasakit sa flu. Yung flu, marami nagkakasakit kasi wala ngang lockdown yung flu, okay lang. At saka yung mortality, yung death rate, hindi po namumuro ng mga tao yung flu. Yung talagang medyo mahina na. Pero yung COVID-19, kung mapuruhan ka, talagang walang ligtas, no? Okay. Anyway, Kado, any thing you want to add to this?
Well, yan lang ang problema dahil si Trump hindi naniniwala sa COVID-19 talaga yan So, basahin nyo na lang dito sa libro ko. Basahin nyo na lang. This will be released soon. This will be launched soon. Kung paano ginamit ng Amerika ang COVID-19 para sa politika. How Trump used it, how Mike Pompeo reinforced. Sabi ni Mike Pompeo, Wuhan virus. Sabi ni Trump, China virus. Actually, it is a US virus. Pero dito, tingnan ninyo kung paano. So, I will just leave it with that comment.
Okay, thank you. And it's now past 6:50 na po, ano? 6:50, we have 10 minutes, so we'll exceed our time, sigurado, by 15 to 20 minutes at least, no? Okay, itong ikalimang topic po natin about Cambodia, ano, dahil again sa ang Estados Unidos, ang mga kantyaw sa mga bansa tulad natin, human rights sa Cambodia, ganyan din, yung election daw ng Cambodia. So, sinabi ng Cambodia sa Estados Unidos, Cambodia says to US officials, you can pack up and leave. Pwede na kayong lumayas, ano? Ito po, let me take a look at the clearer version aking let me just check okay dito, and ito po yan. Okay, in the election, Prime Minister Hun Sen's ruling Cambodian People's Party won all 125 parliamentary seats. The CCP, Cambodian People's Party, complete victory followed the dissolution of the main opposition party. Rights groups said the election was neither free nor fair, but a Cambodian government spokesman rejected the criticism. Phai Sim Phan said US officials should not make such barbaric comments. So whatever their election system is there, it must be expected that is the government there. And si Hun Sen po, kasing tindihan ni Duterte. And maybe mas matindi pagdating sa pag-impose ng kanyang political will. Let's move on to the next topic, and then we can combine reactions to all these together. Ang next item po, ayun, ito very interesting and very timely po sa ating mga issues about the left, Communist Party, NPA, CPP, Joma season. And in the next few episodes, we'll have more of these kasi na-feature na natin dito si Paul Gutierrez, yung ating interview kay Paul Gutierrez, na kanyang ini-expose din yung si Joma season, yung education ni Joma, yung higher education, graduate studies, USA dagdag pondo, and so on. But ito po si academic Joseph Escalise, may ongoing debate and battle, verbal battle with Joma Sison. Siya isang sosyalista of the Fourth International. One of these days, we'll give you a history of the International, First International, nila Karl Marx, Second International, Third International ng Soviets, Fourth International ni Trotsky, at itong kaisipan nitong mga to. But anyway, itong importante lang for this session, itong sinabi ni Joseph Escalise sa kanyang expose ng Philippine Maoist. Sabi niya, as the CPP and the organizations that follow its political line have aligned, nakialyansa po, nakilinya with sections of the bourgeoisie, yung mga oligarchs, closely tied to Washington, closely tied to Washington, they have begun denouncing Duterte as a puppet of Chinese imperialism and have produced images that draw on the region's long history of anti-Chinese racism. So hindi lang po tayo ini-expose natin si Joma Sison as instrumento na ng Western imperialists, kundi ito sila Joseph Escalise at ang Fourth International ng Socialist Movement na dapat kakampi ni Joma, pero nakikita din nila ang totoong sentro of core or puso or buod nitong sila Joma Sison. Sila ay kasangkapan na ng Western imperialism. Kaado, you want to add to that?
Well, tatahiin ko lang yung tungkol sa Cambodia at saka tungkol dito. Sa Cambodia, pinan ni Hun Sen yung 118 members na nanalo sa Cambodia National Rescue Party. No? Kaya mas matinik itong si Hun Sen kaysa kay Duterte. Si Duterte pabakla-bakla pagdating sa Kamatayan Block. No? Pagdating dito sa so-called Makabayan Block na mga tuta ni Joma Sison. No? So, yun lang. And dito sa pinapakita ng ni Jose Bustani, ay tama lang na kutkutin niya si Joma Sison, which dadaling ko na rin sa susunod na topic, Mentong, no?
Sige.
Which is study now, NPA Later, no? Sige, tuloy mo na.
Yun. Maganda po itong pinost ni Edward Zaragoza. No? Scholar ng UP, naging NPA, Sara Elago, Iska Castro, Kaloy Zarate, at iba pang mga miyembro ng Makabayang Bloc. Masaya ba kayo? Sinira ng mga kasamahan nyo ang mga kinabukasan nila. So maganda yung, instead of study now, pay later, study now, NPA later. Ano? May rhyme pa, ano? Maganda. At yan po, marami po ang nabibiktima. I will soon post, inaayos lang ni Kajos, no, yung ating interview doon sa Hands of Our Children, ano, na ginawa namin last Friday. Baka may second episode itong Friday, pero medyo sobrang napapagod ako sa sabay-sabay na mga episodes na aking tinetape, ano. Pero yung dalawang ina po, yung isang ina nawalan yung anak, pero naibalik na, ano, at tinatago sa NPA, baka i-assassinate ng NPA. Yung isang ina, nawawala pa, 4 years na yung anak niya. Ano? And so, ito po, talagang isang krusada na dapat natin tulungan na maibalik lahat itong mga batang ito sa kanilang mga pamilya. Ano? Kaado, you want to add to that since you also brought it up already?
Yeah, and ang nangyayari ngayon, really, between the government and the New People's Army, ay nakikita na talagang irrelevant na New People's Army. Almost 15,000 na po ang sumusuko. At itong 15,000 ito, hindi pa kasama ang bilang ng mga pamilya. No? That's why we would like to congratulate Lieutenant General Antonio Parlade Jr. Because siya lang pala ang makakaganap sa katapusan ng CPP, NPA, NDF. Dahil ang classic mistake dito, Kamento, ng mga former presidents ay they kept on getting Joma Sison into the negotiation table. Pero si Duterte lamang ang nagsabi sa kanila, you want to continue talking? You have to dismantle the New People's Army. Diretsahan na yan. Saka naman nakakita, nag-uusap sa negotiation table. Ang nangyari dito kasi is ibang klase na itong komunismo na nasa Pilipinas. Ang Communist Party before would result to a violent overthrow of an established government. No? Ito ngayong CPP, NPA, NDF na mga teroristang komunista ngayon, iba na estilo. Yung mga fronts nila ay nakapronte sa armed structure nila before, ang talagang struggle nila ngayon parliamentary struggle. They are getting, no? They are getting closer and closer to assuming power in government through a parliamentary struggle, through the elections, through appointments. At hindi ba yung nakaraang rehimen ni Noynoy Aquino, I call it a pink cabinet kasi ang karamihan ng tao niya mga komunista.
Okay. So, Kaado, Then our final item, penultimate item, yung huli sa, bago doon sa huli, itong, siyempre, nakakagulat na approval rating ni Presidente Duterte from the Philippine News Agency, at yan na po, nasa harap po ninyo, no? PRRD, Duterte's performance rating climbs to 91% amid pandemic. Talagang nasindak, nabulagta ba? Is that a good word for it? Ang mga oposisyon, ang mga dilawan, ang mga Amerikano, ang mga kritiko ni Presidente Duterte. And so, pati yung isang tauhan ni Duterte na sabi sa akin noon, kiss of death na si Duterte kasi yung COVID-19, ang daming naghihirap, limitado ang tulong. And so, sabi ko, hindi kanyang kasimple yan. Unang-una, naunawaan naman ng taong bayan, yung mga biktima din mismo, na hindi kasalanan ni Duterte itong COVID-19, pandemic, at Duterte is doing everything possible in his hands. No? And yung ilang mga desisyon ni Presidente Duterte na malalim, nakikita yung malalim na pagmamahal at pagkakaintindi niya bilang isang magulang, bilang isang pinuno ng pamilya, bilang isang lolo. Yung kanyang desisyon na hindi buksan ng mga eskwelahan hanggang Oktubre, hanggang magkaroon ng vaccine, o talagang binatikos siya doon, no? and so on. Ang nakakatawa naman na nakikita ko yung mga balita ng ABS-CBN at mga dilawang mga dyaryo na ito tulad nitong headline dito ng ABS-CBN. Quiet worker Robredo not so concerned with surveys, spokesman says. Quiet worker? Kado, di ba? Nagpipilit lagi sa dyaryo. Mga dyaryo na hawak na, pinipilit na may ginagawa si Robredo. Spare tire lang naman siya. May budget siya ng 500 milyong piso na wala namang ginagawa. Kundi magpropaganda ng sarili niya. Sasabihin nila na quiet worker. I cannot stop laughing. If I could laugh at all about this, no, Kaado? Your reaction, Kaado? Nawala si Kaado, sandali. Ayun, yun. Okay.
Paano magiging interesado si Robredo? Kalahati lang siya na ni Duterte.
Okay. So that's those are the topics for today, and the last item, Kaado, is video na mga 12 minutes po. You can just listen to half of it or watch it or the whole of it, if you have time. Ito po pinapakita po natin dito sa video na to yung manipulasyon ng Estados Unidos ng mga international institutions. At kung ayaw nila marinig natin ng mundo yung katotohanan, talagang susupilin nila. Tulad nitong pinuno ng OPCW. OPCW ibig sabihin na Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. And siguro nasusubaybayan ninyo yung mga sinasabi na ang ginagamit ni Bashar al-Assad ng Syria, chemical weapons laban sa mga sibilyan, and so on. Kabaliktaran po ang nangyayari. Yung mga alagad ng Amerika ang siyang gumagamit at binibintang po kay Assad, sa Syrian government and military. Yan po rin ang mga binabalak nila gawin dito sa rehiyon po natin, tulad nitong spy plane na ginagawa, nagtatago sa likod ng bandila or code ng Pilipinas o Malaysia. Ito naman sa Syria, sila ang gumagamit ng chemical weapons laban sa mga sibilyan para ibintang sa kalaban ng mga jihadist na mga galamay ng American covert operation. So I'll just read this last comments from our listeners and watchers. And let me just marami po ito. Si Pete Arce, nakita kong pangalan, but I'm scrolling back up para mabasa natin yung mga dumaan na po. From Loren Alejandrino Pascual, happy birthday, Mentong. And sir, from maraming si Freddy Oredina, maraming messages dito, hindi lang natin mabasa lahat. Peer plant by Russia on barges, power plant on hybrid election, solo, si Aimee, yung hybrid election and so on. Nord Stream sanctions ng Amerika sa Germany and Russia. Pete Arce, happy birthday. Kamentong Freddy Oradina, may post siya, global research. And then dito sa iba, let me see, maraming kay Freddy Oradina dito eh. From Rowena Paredes Barrios, no? Sa GNN channel, pinapanood ko rin yan si Sir Tio Laurel. Okay, thank you. And from James Moreno, gandang gabi po, Kamentong Kaado. Henry Kapispisan, good evening po. From, then let me see dito, from Imelda Galve. Good evening po, Kamentong and Kaado. God bless sa inyo and to you too, no? Imelda. And then let me see dito from Kendall Francis. The Aquino administration takes care of the NPA because these groups were the ones responsible for the dirty works during the presidency of Ferdinand E. Marcos, tulad ng Plaza Miranda Maming na ang nakinabang po si Ninoy Aquino, no? And so on. This on the other side po, marami din dito. Let me see. From Jed 215, sobrang lamig sa Washington DC kaya panay deep breath. Walang face mask kasi mag-isa lang siya sa balcony. Kayong mga anti-Trump, no? I'm not anti-Trump. I supported, no, I predicted he would win in 2016. But if you're pro-Trump, then that's okay. Pero you don't breathe, lalo na sa malamig sa mouth, lalong tatamaan ka. I-warm up mo yung air sa ilong, you know? YouTube channel, Zaldi Oreo, regarding BNPP last year lang po chinek ng mga experts. Okay. And then Evelyn Aguhar, Tokyo in Yokohama. Gandang gabi po, Kamentong at Kaado, watching from Tokyo. Yvonne Ginihin, happy birthday. Salamat po, Yvonne. From Jed, si Jed yung pro-Trump. Ano? Di Carmona, Kamentong, di mo masisi mga tao na maging cautious as mga sinasabi ng American government dahil maraming beses nangyari na ang false flag nila. Ayun. We can go back to the history. Ang dami po nilang ginawang kahit sa Pilipinas yung yung pagbabaril doon sa San Juan Bridge, di ba? That is some interpret as a false flag. And from Mark Lenatona hanggang ngayon, Mark Tumalon, let me see. Anyway, nawala po sa harap ko yung ayun, hanggang ngayon ba binabayaran pa rin natin ang namana ng utang ni Marcos? Sabi nga nung iba naghalo-halo na yan, so maaring yung iba binabayaran pa rin natin, but we really cannot tell anymore talaga, no? From Dion Neni Legisniana, and nawala yung text niya. Franz Ayalin, kung pinakinggan lang sana ni Cory ang sinabi ni Pangulong Marcos na ituloy lang ang pag-operate ng Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, sana napakinabangan ng sambayanan Pilipino, kaya lang binaliwala ni Cory. You're absolutely correct there, no? But sadya po ni Cory yan para malipat yung power industry sa mga Ayalas, sa mga Lopez. Yun ang talagang dahilan. From Zaldi Oreo, Mark Lenatona, yung huling BNPP na lang pero bayad na. From Jed 215, hindi totoo yung 91% ni Pidot sa survey was financed by the oligarchs. Alam po ninyo, yung Pulse Asia po ay kakampi po ng mga dilaw. Now, sasabihin mo hindi totoo, then produce your evidence, no, Jed? Okay, from Reisa Kaado, itanong ko lang po kung available na po yung book mo sa mga bookstore. I think it's very interesting book. Thank you. Well, we have to talk about that pa. Paplano pa yung launching at distribution, but thank you for your interest, Raisa. Own 101. These NPA rebels should realize why their leader is enjoying the freebies courtesy of the Dutch government while their members are suffering their pathetic plight in the Philippines. What a coward. You're absolutely correct. From Isko Antonio Camentong, ang budget ng OVP pinataas raw ng ilang senador kaya pala atat si Lenny kuhanin ang budget niya na mataas. From Joms Dizon, magkaka-connect sila. NPA, kultong dilawan, oligarchs. Tama po, they're common in one objective, overthrow of the government. Mahardikain, palagi ko po, hindi na kailangan ng mandatory civil service exam at college graduate lalo na sa mga members ng AFP-PNP para di ma-discourage mga kabataan na pumasok sa serbisyo at di ma-recruit ng NPA. That's very important, yung trabaho para sa mga kabataan. From Dion Lenny Lagisniana, totoo po ba ng time ni dating President Marcos nawawala si Handlandoni at isang madre ng mawala o maalis ang dating president, bumalik po kasamang mga bata na? I think that's true. Mahabang kwento po yung kay Handlandoni at sa kanyang asawang madring naging asawa niya po. Okay, well, we've read all the messages, Kaado. I think we can say good night, and please, if you have time. Hey, there's one more thing, yung fake news alert pala, no? Ayun, hinahabol ni and so China's pledges are all being met, maraming bridges, patapos na po yung sa BGC to Ortigas, itong by next year, Binondo Intramuros Bridge, and the other bridge sa Makati, Estrella Pantaleon Bridge, Kaliwa Dam, ginagawa na po, yung sa Chico River Dam, irrigation, ang dami po, so fake news, pati Interaksyon, TV5, kanila din po yan. O Kado, let's end na, and then we'll introduce the video on the OPCW. Kado, yung alam mo, na-disconnect si Kado. Okay, so ating itatapos po ang ating episode today. May habol man ng mga messages dito. Okay, Franz Ayalin, kung pinakinggan, nabasa na po natin, yan, Aguhar, everything Aguhar, akala ko ba ay pinabombahan ng Pangulong Duterte ang kampo ng pesteng NPA? Siguro merong ibang binobomba, pero yung iba inaakit po, na iba bumalik po sa panig po ng ating normal na pamumuhay at ng gobyerno. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat at nakakataba po ng puso yung ang mga bati po ninyo at 70, mahalaga po yan. I hope I will have at least 10 more years to keep educating the new generations, the young generations, and more, and gain more participation from all of you nang talagang mapalaya na po natin ang ating Filipino mind and consciousness at bumukas po ang magandang kinabukasan. Maraming salamat. And ito na po ang video ang iro-roll ni Ka Joshua.
Mr. Chairman, Ambassador Vasily Nabienzia, Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jose Bustani. I'm honored to have been invited to present a statement for this meeting of the UN Security Council to discuss the Syrian chemical dossier and the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. As the OPCW's first Director General, a position I held from 1997 to 2002, I naturally retained a keen interest in the evolution and fortunes of the organizations. I have been particularly interested in recent developments regarding the organization's work in Syria. For those of you who are not aware, I was removed from office following a US-orchestrated campaign in 2002 for, ironically, trying to uphold the Chemical Weapons Convention. My removal was subsequently ruled to be illegal by the International Labour Organization's Administrative Tribunal. Despite this unpleasant experience, the OPCW remains close to my heart. It is a special organization with an important mandate. I accepted the position of Director General precisely because the Chemical Weapons Convention was non-discriminatory. I took immense pride in the independence, impartiality, and professionalism of its inspectors and wider staff in implementing the Chemical Weapons Convention. No state party was to be considered above the rest, and the hallmark of the organization's work was that even-handedness with which all member states were treated, regardless of size, political might, or economic clout. Although no longer at the helm by this time, I felt great joy when the OPCW was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 2013, and I quote, for its extensive efforts to eliminate chemical weapons, unquote. It was a mandate towards which I and countless other former staff members had worked tirelessly. In the nascent years of the OPCW, we faced a number of challenges, but we overcame them to earn the organization a well-deserved reputation for effectiveness and efficiency, not to mention autonomy, impartiality, and a refusal to be politicized. The ILO decision on my removal was an official and public reassertion of the importance of these principles. More recently, the OPCW's investigation on alleged use of chemical weapons have no doubt created even greater challenges for the organization. It was precisely for this kind of eventuality that we had developed operating procedures, analytical methods, as well as extensive training programs in strict accordance with the provisions of the Chemical Weapons Convention. Allegations of the actual use of chemical weapons were a prospect for which we hoped our preparations would never be required. Unfortunately, they came to be required. And today, allegations of chemical weapons use are a sad reality. It is against that backdrop that serious questions are now being raised over whether the independence, impartiality, and professionalism of some of the organization's work is being severely compromised, possibly under pressure from some member states. Of particular concern are the circumstances surrounding the OPCW's investigation of the alleged chemical attack in Douma, Syria, on April the 7th, 2018. These concerns are emanating from the very heart of the organization, from the very scientists and engineers involved in the Douma investigation. In October 2019, I was invited by the Courage Foundation, an international organization that supports, and I quote, supports those who risk life or liberty to make significant contribution to the historical record, unquote, to participate in a panel along with a number of eminent international figures from the fields of international law, disarmament, military operations, medicine, and intelligence. The panel was convened to hear the concerns of an OPCW official over the conduct of the organization's investigation into the Douma incident. This expert provided compelling and documentary evidence of highly questionable and potentially fraudulent conduct in the investigative process. In a joint public statement, the panel was, and I quote, unanimous in expressing its alarm over unacceptable practices in the investigation of the alleged chemical attack in Douma. The panel further called on OPCW, and I quote, to permit all inspectors who took part in the Douma investigation to come forward and report their differing observations in an appropriate forum of the states parties to the Chemical Weapons Convention in fulfillment of the spirit of the convention, unquote. I was personally so disturbed by the testimony and evidence presented by the panel that I was compelled to make a public statement. And I quote, "I have always expected the UPCW to be a true paradigm of multilateralism. My hope is that the concerns expressed publicly by the panel in its joint consensus statement will catalyze the process by which the organization can be resurrected to become the independent and non-discriminatory body it used to be." Unquote. The call for greater transparency from the OPCW further intensified in November last year when an open letter of support for the Courage Foundation Declaration was sent to permanent representatives of the OPCW to, and I quote, "ask for their support in taking action at the forthcoming Conference of States Parties aimed at restoring the integrity of the OPCW and regaining public trust," unquote. The signatories of this petition included such eminent figures as Noam Chomsky, Emeritus Professor at MIT, Marcello Ferrada de Noli, Chair of the Swedish Doctors for Human Rights, Colleen Rowley, whistleblower and a 2002 Time magazine Person of the Year, Han von Sponeck, former UN Assistant Secretary General, and film director Oliver Stone, to mention a few. Now, almost 1 year later, the OPCW has still not responded to these requests, nor to the ever-growing controversy surrounding the Doom investigation. Rather, it has hidden behind an impenetrable wall of silence and opacity, making any meaningful dialogue impossible. On the one occasion when it did address the inspectors' concerns in public, it was only to accuse them of breaching confidentiality. Of course, inspectors, and indeed all of PCW staff members, have responsibilities to respect confidentiality and confidentiality rules. But the OPCW has the primary responsibility to faithfully ensure that implementation of a provision of the Chemical Weapons Convention, Article 8, Paragraph 1, are complied with. The work of the organization must be transparent, for without transparency there is no trust. And trust is what binds the OPCW together. If member states do not have trust in the fairness and objectivity of the work of the OPCW, then its effectiveness as a global watchdog for chemical weapons is severely compromised. And transparency and confidentiality are not mutually exclusive. But confidentiality cannot be invoked as a smokescreen for irregular behavior. The organization needs to restore the public trust it once had, and which no one denies is now waning, which is why we are here today. It will be inappropriate for me to advise on or even to suggest how the OPCW should go about regaining public trust. Still, as someone who has experienced both rewarding and tumultuous times with the OPCW, I would like to make a personal plea to you, Mr. Fernando Arias, as President Director General of the OPCW. The inspectors are among the organization's most valuable assets. As scientists and engineers, their specialist knowledge and inputs are essential for good decision-making. Most importantly, their views are untainted by politics and national interests. They only rely on the science. The inspectors in the Doom investigation have a simple request, that they be given the opportunity to meet with you, Mr. Chairman, to express their concerns to you in person, in a manner that is both transparent and accountable. This is surely the minimum that they can expect. At great risk to themselves, they have dared to speak out against possible irregular behavior in your organization. And it is without doubt in the organization's and in the world's interest that you hear them out. The convention itself showed great foresight in allowing inspectors to offer different observations, even in investigations of alleged use of chemical weapons. Paragraphs 62 and 66 of Part 2, Verification Annex. This right is and I quote, a constitutive element supporting the independence and objectivity of inspections. This language comes from Ralph Trapp and Walter Krust's A Commentary on Verification Practice under the CWC, published by the OPCW itself during my time as DG. Regardless of whether or not this is substance to the concerns raised about the OPCW's behavior in the Duma investigation, hearing what your own inspectors have to say would be an important first step in mending the organization's damaged reputation. The dissenting inspectors are not claiming to be right, but they do want to be given a fair hearing. As one Director General to another, I respectfully request that you grant them this opportunity. If the OPCW is confident in the robustness of its scientific work on Duma and in the integrity of the investigation, then it should have little to fear in hearing out its inspectors. If, however, the claims of evidence suppression, selective use of data, and exclusion of key investigators, among other allegations, are not unfounded, then it's even more imperative that the issue be dealt with openly and urgently. This organization has already achieved greatness. If it has slipped, it nonetheless still has the opportunity to repair itself and to grow to become even greater. The world needs a credible chemical weapons watchdog. We had one, and I'm confident, Mr. Arias, that you will see to it that we have one again. Thank you very much.